predators. Viewer discretion is advised.
Okay. Welcome to a very wet morning in the Sabi Sands, and you are on Safari Live.
Ready. Standing by.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our sunrise drive or sunrise safari this morning. We are in the Sabi Sands. My name is Byron, and with me on camera this morning I have VM. Morning, VM. And Taylor and Dave are out on the other vehicle. The ladies in the FC, Rebecca, and I think Lou is with her this morning. Great to have all of you with us again. And welcome to a very, very wet Sabi Sands this morning, or Djuma Game Reserve, which we are situated in. And we had a lot of rain last night. We had a massive, massive storm, which was fantastic. And it does seem to be very quiet at the moment. The roads have all been washed clean, so this is great for us. It makes it a lot easier to hopefully find some tracks. It has hardened the ground a little bit, but if we do find any tracks, we then at least know that they are very, very fresh. So let's see what we can find this morning. I'm in search for leopard, so just driving around and hopefully going to pick up on any signs of leopard, tracks or dung. Or if we're very lucky, perhaps a leopard made a kill during the evening. Predators love to hunt in this rain. So we'll see what we can find. It's a much cooler morning, about 22 degrees Celsius or about 72 degrees Fahrenheit. And it's a beautiful morning. It's so fresh after that rain. All the dust has settled. Wonderful smells in the air, and it really is fantastic. We even had hail last night, some serious hail. So a few of us had to rush out and put the covers on the vehicles. It was a lot of fun, but it stormed for most of the evening, which is great. We need this rain. We still need a lot more rain, but this is a good start. We had a quite a decent amount. I'm not exactly too sure how much, but we will try to find out. Just having a look while we're driving along. Any signs of animals walking along the boundary road? Occasionally what happens after the rain, a lot of these scent markings that animals have done is washed away, and then you get the predators covering their territories again and remarking the boundaries of their territory. So maybe we're lucky and we have some of that this morning. We had a great day yesterday. There was a lot of lion activity. The lions hunted and killed 2 or 3 buffalo, which was amazing. They were very successful yesterday with hunting. And so we'll see. We did hear them last night. Perhaps they are around. While we continue our search for any predator activity this morning, Taylor would like to say good morning to you.
And a good morning it is to all of you who are watching today. Welcome, my name is Taylor, and on camera with me we've got David. There's David. It was very interesting last night with all the wonderful thunder and lightning and of course hail. So it was actually quite entertaining when we all had to get up to quickly race around, running around, checking that no windows are left open and all the different vehicles, and those hailstones were quite big. I'm glad nobody got donked on the head last night. If you're wondering what my plan is this morning, is to actually try and follow up on, of course, the Nkuhumas again. So we're on Mamba Road currently, and we're going to have a look and check the Carcass where those lions were feeding last night. Now, it seems as though we picked up on one male lion's tracks, which is probably the lion that Byron heard calling last night, going back towards sort of DRC itself, going back east, and it looks like he came all the way along Mamba Road. If I do find some more really nice tracks, I'll show you, because they're quite beautiful this morning as they've been pressed down after the rain. But it's a really nice clean track. It might actually be a good opportunity to have a look and spend some time looking at tracks today with all the nice wet solid ground. I think that'd be a good idea. I was just thinking for Jamie's molds that would have been a really good lion footprint, and it's cast so nicely in the mud. Now, if that male lion has indeed walked along Mamba Road and didn't find the rest of the pride, I presume that's why he would have been calling. I wonder if the others are still around, which will be quite exciting to see. We're going to check this carcass on Mamba Road as well as the one that was deposited. Well, not deposited, we just found him lying in the middle of the block between Cheetah Cut Line and Drakensberg Road. We'll have a look over there too and see if any hyenas or any sort of scavenger activity is going on. I've already seen one vulture up ahead. It was flying, so I wonder what's going up there, but we're almost there. We're not too far away, hey David? No, we're just a couple of minutes away, just down the road. We're still going straight, eh? Yeah. I think we're going straight. Was it there? Oh, no, it is right. Okay. Just always double checking because I'm still a little bit uncertain of the roads. Welcome, Nathaniel, and I hope you continue to watch the show. Good morning to you. Well, it's morning here in South Africa, Nathaniel. I'm not sure where you are from, but I hope you enjoy this morning's show. And you want to know if I've ever seen a lion kill anything while I've just been driving around? Actually, yes. In fact, the other morning, I was very lucky to come across the lions taking down a young buffalo calf. I just got there in the nick of time. They had just... Oh, there's lots of vultures here. This is exciting. Sorry. They'd actually just separated the calf from the herd. I'm just having a look. The vultures are probably going to fly, but I'm going to move away and then we're going to watch from a distance. I just want to get to the other side because clearly the lions are not here anymore. But let me give them a wide berth. Let me trick them and they must pretend and think I'm driving away. And let's park over here. Let's do this. Don't fly. Now there's only one hooded vulture left at this carcass, but I think we'll hang tight. Let's just sit here for a couple of moments and perhaps these vultures will go back down again. There we go. We've got a hooded vulture who says, I'm not scared of a silly little vehicle. Oh, I've just got to chat to Taxon quickly. Standing by, Taxon. Yeah, a firm. It comes all the way along Mamba Twin Dams towards Chelepan. I'm at that File Nyari. There's just Makoti here off Mamba Road. So I'm just having a quick chat to Taxon. Just gonna let him know. Okay, I'm just listening to him. Sorry. Yeah, copy. No sign just yet. I think the Zingala moved before the rain, but I'll check carefully. So I'm a little bit uncertain as to how much rain we had last night, but it bucketed down. We had a massive downpour at probably about 10 o'clock last night or so. It started coming in, the thunder, and then by 10:30 we had hail, and it continued after the hail for a little bit longer, and it subsided. Now everything is very wet, and it started raining again later. Now you can see these vultures have decided to tuck in, and hopefully the rest of them, they seem to be coming back now, which will be nice. They're coming into land. And it's quite funny that it was the hooded vulture that was the one to stick around. I always thought that the white-backed vultures were a little bit braver than the smaller hooded vulture. Now, at a carcass like this, and I'm sure you've heard it before, but perhaps if you're like Nathaniel and you're watching for the first time, you're wondering how on earth do the vultures eat through that very tough hide of the buffalo. Now, there's a pecking order when it comes to vultures. There we go. Here comes another hooded vulture coming through. Now, like I said, there's a pecking order, so if you look at the beaks of the hooded vultures, you can see how slender they are. Now, unfortunately, they aren't able to pierce through the hide of a buffalo. So if it was a buffalo that had just died of natural causes, they would have to start eating it around the rump and pecking the eyes out and perhaps eating at the tongue until the big lappet-faced or even a white-backed vulture would come through with those strong, robust beaks and be able to tear open the carcass. Now, I always find that the hooded vultures seem to get bullied around the carcass, and maybe that's the reason why they hung around, is to try and take advantage of the lack of whitebacks and eat as much as they can before the whiteback vultures or leopard face come through and sort of chase them and bulldoze them out of the way. But remember, we are on a live safari, and myself and Byron would love to hear from you this morning. So you're welcome to either hashtag Safari Live on Twitter, or you could even send us an email, questions@WildEarthTV. You can hear all the birds waking up. I think they're quite happy that we had some rain. Excuse me. Thank you. That's beautiful. Also looking around, making sure no one else is coming through. Now, the lions are very spoilt that they don't really mind too much, leaving half a buffalo behind. That's when you know that there is plenty of food around. In the summer months, we probably would not see this. We'd see the lions on a kill and finishing it until there was absolutely nothing left. Sure, you probably heard Rebecca there. Good morning, Rebecca, and good morning to you, Sandy. So, Sandy, you were wondering why the lions didn't finish the buffalo, and that's just it. There's just so much food around, and it seems as though the buffalo have unfortunately not done as well as what they could have with the rain. I would have thought that they would have been able to bulk up enough to be able to survive, I suppose, what would you call it, like a little dry period again after we had the initial rain. But, I'm just listening. I can hear some elephants cracking trees in the distance. No, of course, now they've stopped. I'm hoping if we sit here for long enough, we'll get the rest of the vultures coming down to eat. You can see them flying in the distance, slowly coming back. Here comes some white-backed vultures, and now this is where the show will really begin. There they come running in. Come on, chase the hooded away. 3 of them, 3 on 3. Oh, I absolutely love that hop and a skip that they do. Now, it would really be sort of the cherry on top of my cake today if some hyenas came through. Oh, look at them having a little squabble as to who's going to get in first. And the white-backed vulture at the rear end is quite clever while everybody fights over the organs. It seems as though he's quite happy to stick his long head into the rump and start feeding on the intestines from that side. Efficient feeding. Now, these vultures are going to be absolutely ecstatic because there is so much meat on here. They really don't have to squabble, though they will, because vultures always do. Now, this is going to be a fantastic scene. The vultures are going to keep coming in, so keep your volume turned up loud. And as soon as they start to fight amongst each other and sort of produce dinosaur noises, well, then I'm going to sit very quietly and we're just going to watch and enjoy. Here they all come. One of my favorite sounds in the bush. Oh my goodness, look at those two battling it out for the prime spot. Now you can imagine, this is only but a handful of vultures now. They're going to keep coming in as the day progresses. And I'm even going to snap 1 or 2 shots because I haven't seen vultures on a carcass for ages. This is really beautiful. You would think it would be more common. Now, speaking of sort of carcasses and hierarchies, a bird that I haven't seen sort of too often around here is a marabou stork. And I know that... Sorry, Bex, go with that name. It was Trip somebody, sorry. Just Trip Edwards, there we go. No, you were wondering where on earth do the marabou storks fit into the hierarchy. Now, because of their size, they're much taller and much larger and more powerful than the vultures that we often see, so predominantly the white-backed and, of course, the hooded. So a marabou would come through here and quite happily peck in between the vultures. You don't see it too often. I've only seen it a handful of times down in the southern sand, where the marabous come and join in on the kills or the scavenging process. And when I was in Zambia, it was almost a given. It was almost as though the marabous used to get to the carcasses before the vultures did. We'd see them by the hundreds on the big open plains, feeding on the armored crickets. And then, of course, if something had died or if there was an opportunity to scavenge, they were there with the hornbills, which was quite amazing too. Is that the southern ground hornbills, I used to see them in Zambia scavenging quite significantly on all the various carcasses in and amongst the vultures and, of course, the marabou storks. Now, this is a real feast for these vultures. They're normally just used to eating a few little scraps here and there, you know, picking a few pieces in between the ribs. They have got an entire buffalo to eat. Now, the digestive system of vultures is quite amazing. They are very much like hyenas of the sky, I suppose. They don't really feed on any bone. They're just feeding on the flesh, and I'm sure occasionally they'll get the odd bit of hair. Now, I'm so sorry. I keep missing all the names this morning. My brain is doing about 360. Sorry, Rebecca. Robin, and now my voice is disappearing from me. Robin, you were wondering, let's just have a look. Oh, you see there's a couple more sitting over here. You were wondering if the vultures also cast pellets, for instance, like an owl, for example. Now, they don't. They just defecate normally. It's quite a large amount of feces that they deposit, and it's something that I always say, and my trackers have always said over the years, is don't park underneath a vulture. You wouldn't want to be defecated on, especially after what we see them eating. And you can see them all sitting up. Those two look to be quite full. They don't seem to be too bothered and interested in squabbling. Just calling another vehicle in, because this is quite amazing to see, just to be able to spend a little bit of time with these vultures at this sort of feeding frenzy. Right, we might hang around here for a little bit longer. Perhaps we'll quickly go and check the other carcass, the other buffalo carcass, and see what's happening. But while I do that, let's go back across to Byron and just get a little update from him.
Interesting to see so much vulture activity around. We're still having a good look. Here we go. Got something here for you. Off to the left. Beautiful giraffe. Oh, that's a nice surprise. Big male. I haven't had any sign of any predators just yet. No tracks. Oh, this could be interesting. This giraffe trying to get down a bit of an embankment. I think it's just going to feed on that tree. That's interesting. thought perhaps he might try and go all the way down. Let me just try to see something. Now, that is very interesting because that giraffe is feeding on a tree known as a tamboti. And, sorry, I'm just listening to a lilac-breasted roller that's been upset by something. But getting back to the giraffe feeding on the tamboti tree. Now, the tamboti tree is actually very poisonous. Some animals are able to digest the leaves and it doesn't affect them. I know, though, that for us humans, if we even just make a fire using the wood of the tamboti tree, the smoke inhalation can cause some serious sickness. You often get really bad stomach ailments, and it will cause nausea and headaches. So it's really, really not great for us at all. And it's amazing how I can't remember the last time I saw a giraffe feeding on one, but I know kudu also feed on them, and black rhino, surprisingly, also like to feed on tamboti leaves. So I don't know why it doesn't affect them, or if they've just built up an immunity to some of the poison, or if their digestive system is that much different to ours. But I know if we make a fire and we use the wood of the tamboti tree, it is not good at all. Listen, I want you to hear something. Let's see if we can hear it just behind the giraffe. Can you hear that whistling? And that is a little pearl-spotted owl. I wonder if we can find it. It's a tiny, tiny owl. Just calling in this drainage line. But to find that is very, very difficult. I'm going to scan with my binoculars a little bit in those trees. I've actually found him. Can you believe it? Oh, they just flew off. Hang on. It just flew to the back. In that very large tree directly behind the giraffe. He was in there. Just have a quick scan again. Just saw it as it took off. Hang on. Oh, I can't believe it. I think we've just missed it. It's calling again. Listen to that whistle. Let me try to find a picture for you quickly to show you. And I don't have my book with me this morning because of all the rain last night. We took it out. I don't want all our stuff getting wet. But I have got my bird app with me. And you can have a look over here. That's the pearl-spotted owl. Beautiful little owl. Look at that. And very, very, very small. One of the smallest little owls that we get out here. So a bird, well, the pearl-spotted owl is probably only about this big. So very, very small. And it's one of the smallest owls that we get in this area. We have this one and another little bird, or another little owl known as the Scops owl, which is slightly smaller, also only about this size, but they've got amazingly loud calls. Hang on, what's that sitting up there? No, I just want to have a look in this drainage line quickly. I don't think that bird flew off too far. This giraffe is still feeding just on the edge of the thicket, or the edge of the drainage line. Let's just take a drive down and have a look here quickly. Maybe we're still lucky and we find that little owl. It's funny, often, even though they're no direct threat to other birds, lots of other birds mob them and chase them away. Diana would like to know if we perhaps might have some water in the drainage lines because of all the rain last night. Deanna, there's a good possibility. I've seen some pools already that have formed along the sides of the roads, but I still think we'd need a lot more rain. Based on, I mean, you can see it's a little bit wet through here. Let's just have a look. But the water hasn't actually gathered around. Just see some mud. Oh, that bird is very, very close. Let's just have a look here. Let's just have a quick look around the corner. Didn't sound too far at all. Possibly in these trees just off to the right. Hold on. Let's have a quick look here. Let me just scan for 2 seconds. See if I can find it for you. Again, because of their size, they're not very easy to spot, but the shape does stand out quite a little bit. Okay, we're going to carry on searching here just for a little bit. While I do that, Taylor's got some large animals she would like to show you.
Not only do we have some large animals, I want you all to turn your volume up because I can see this here, the southern ground hornbills calling in the distance. Now they have stopped. Wonderful. Very typical, but they don't think they're too far away from us, so perhaps we'll try and relocate them. Now, these are the elephants that I heard in the distance pushing the tree over. They indeed did push a tree over. I'm just having a little look around, trying to figure out if I can see any more vultures or hear any hyenas perhaps on that kill that's off-road. See, I'm a bit reluctant to go off the road today. I was chatting to another guide and it sounds like they had about 30 mils of rain or so, and I think we probably had about 20 mils of rain. I don't want to off-road too much and too unnecessarily, of course, otherwise we're just going to damage all the vegetation. So let's carry on. Let's see if we can perhaps pick up. There we go. We have another look. One last glimpse of this elephant as his friends have all disappeared. Now, the elephants aren't far away from that carcass at all. I know Marie was wondering if those elephants, if they were to come across a carcass, would they leave immediately? Would they perhaps sort of have a look at it? Now, naturally, elephants are inquisitive creatures. So they would probably go up to it, especially if it was a group of males like we're looking at here. They might go up and have a little feel and a smell. It's not always that they will just move away. Maybe if it's a family and there's young calves and they can smell that the lions have been around, they probably just keep going. They don't want to run the risk of something potentially happening to a calf. But now you can see this elephant is not disappearing into the distance. And off he goes. Well, if he's going to go, then we will go too. And let's have another little look. I'm going to do a little sort of circle around this area and just see if I can't pick up any tracks of those lions coming out. I haven't seen anything just yet, and perhaps if they don't, that may mean that they either moved before the rain, which would be quite difficult to try and track them, especially with the amount of rain we had. It would have easily wiped away any trace that those animals even crossed that area, so we'll have to look very carefully. And then, of course, it could be another indication that maybe they are in this block with that carcass. But we'll just have a quick little look around here. Let's do a quick loop. Maybe we can see something as we gaze in. Otherwise, I'm going to have to go for a little walk and head on foot inside that block and just have a little look-see instead of taking a vehicle straight through there. If it was dry, it would be alright. Like I said, but we've had a lot of water. The ground is now very soft. I don't want to leave and make a permanent track for no reason. Well, the elephants have been working really hard here. They've been ploughing up all the land, and I suppose they're a bit like farmers. And always seem to make a big mess after the rain, digging. The ground is a lot softer. And I don't think it's too bad. It's like what buffalo do when they move over massive grasslands. Oh yeah, I'm also just checking into the bush here. I'm just trying to see if I can see anything. Is that when the buffalo sort of go over a big area and there has been quite a lot of rain, they sort of mulch with their feet, and it's very much the same as plowing, and it stimulates the new growth of the grass. I can smell that buffalo, but let's go back across to Byron and see what type of swimming pool he's got.
We found some kudu walking around, and they were heading, look at that, there was one drinking at a small little pool of water which has formed during the evening. I'll show you that shortly, but look at this female, still quite wet from all the rain last night. There's another one behind her. And then have a look at this little, that's the male, a young male, and he was drinking at this waterhole, or this little pan that has formed just off to the left. Have a look at that. So some serious rain. That's enough to fill some of these waterholes. We're interested to see what's happened at Buffelshoek Dam. So we're heading in that direction. We didn't have any luck with that little owl. Let's just have a look here too. There's also another kudu coming off to our left. Some Impala in the background. Oh, let's keep quiet. This one looks like it might come and drink. I'm just going to sit quietly for a second. Fantastic. That is really, really great. And a young one. See, that's one of the wonderful things about having so much rain in an evening like this. You get these little pans, little pools that form, and all the animals are able to get a drink much easier now. It's almost like a bit of relief from these dry conditions that we've had. That's wonderful. Look at them just sipping up that water. You can see they're still very wary of us. Those big ears facing us. They want to make sure we're not a threat. But they seem very comfortable with us being here. I mean, for them to go down and drink while we are so close. It's fantastic. That was lovely. Oh, wonderful. So the kudu are walking off. We're going to continue, and Taylor's got some more birds for you.
We're having a great birding morning today. We've stumbled across a beautiful tawny eagle. I think this could be the first one that I've seen that's actually sat still and not flown away. Well, they can be easily confused between the stepped eagle, which is slightly more larger, but one of the ways that I use to tell the difference between sort of the two species is that if you have a look at their sort of feathers, their color of their feathers, you can see that this tawny eagle is very much tawny and more of a yellowy color, whereas a stepped eagle is sort of the darker brown feathers that you see towards the wings. That's sort of typically what you will see on a stepped eagle. And otherwise they look fairly similar. And this one's just having a little look, perhaps waiting for an opportunity to head around and scavenge. Now, I didn't go in yet. I didn't get to go in just yet to have a look at that buffalo carcass. I'm just doing a loop to double check that there's no tracks coming in or out. And, well, we came across this tawny eagle. I'll try and show you a picture of a stepped eagle. I need to dig my book out, though. Right, let's see where you are. Isn't that beautiful? And at least the sky is not too grey. Normally the birds always get lost in the back when you have a grey backdrop. The rose eagle, no, we're not looking for that one. Palm nut vulture, no, not that one either. Perhaps I've gone too far. Tawny, where are you? Let's see where all the eagles are. Tawny eagles over there. Sorry, and there we go. Okay, let's have a look now. I'm going to show you very quickly in my book about the stepped eagle on the top. Can you see it all the way over here? Yes, if you go to the left though, you'll be able to see the bird better. There we go. You can see what I mean when I say it's much darker in color. And then if you go down a little bit further, you can see the juvenile. And perhaps you could get a little bit confused with a tawny eagle and a juvenile stepped eagle. Though I don't think the tawny eagles have that sort of white barring that you can see just on the tip of the wings over there, as prominent as the stepped eagle does when it's a juvenile. Let's see. Oh, it's actually having a little look at us. This is quite a beautiful and relaxed tawny eagle. Oh, it's giving a little call. Now it's grooming itself. Perhaps this eagle did get a little bit wet and is now trying to dry its feathers. You can see it's all ruffled up, hoping that the air is going to get through and just dry each feather over the next few minutes, constantly fluttering its wings and pulling out all the little feathers that don't need to be there anymore. But isn't that beautiful? And something else that is typical of an eagle is that they have feathers all the way down to their feet. It might be difficult to see though, because we've got half of the tree blocking the view of the eagle. But I don't want to move too much in case it does fly away. There we go, but you can see the lovely feathers going all the way down its legs now that it's moved out a little bit. And the only real exception to that rule is the African fish eagle. Now, if an African fish eagle were to have feathers down on its legs when it stuck its feet in the water while it was trying to catch a fish, it would probably do a somersault and land in the water. So it needs to have smooth legs in order to not end up face first in an ocean, in a dam, or wherever it may be flying around. Isn't that beautiful? Like I say, whenever we have these cloudy days, and normally when we have a bit of rain, we always have it seems to be the best birding weather. Now, not too much difference between a male and female. I'm unsure of the sex of this bird. The females tend to be a little bit larger, and off it goes into the distance, than the males, but not by too much. And they're not a particularly big bird. They don't weigh more than about 2 kilograms. But a fairly long wingspan. And off it goes. Fantastic. Now we've seen some vultures just up at the top of the tree, just up ahead. Let's continue a little bit further and see why they are sitting up in the tree. And of course I am dangling my head off the side of the vehicle. And that's just me looking for the tracks of the lions to see and try and figure out where on earth they've gone. We've got vultures everywhere. There they go. I'm not going to particularly stop too much for them. They're just flying. Bye-bye. Tawny eagle again is going to disappear. Or maybe not. Maybe we can actually get one last front look at this tawny eagle. That's very nice, but now it's gone. Off it goes into the distance. And you can hear Jigger's got particularly squeaky brakes today. But it's what gives her character. Oh, that's very nice. It's amazing how quickly they go. Beautiful. It's not every day that we get to spend some valuable time with these beautiful birds. Now I wonder if this tawny eagle is perhaps not quite an adult just yet. When it was flying, it exposed some beautiful mottling white feathers on its body, and that's not 100% typical, and it does take the adults a long, or to reach adulthood it takes a long time. It can take up to 4 years, so perhaps this tawny eagle is just getting its adult feathers now. Ooh. Bobby Chair, speaking about eagles, you want to know if we have any hawks as well. We've got an array of different hawks. The most common one is probably the African harrier hawk, or a gymnogene is the old name. And then of course there's another one which we've actually been seeing quite a bit of, and that is the African hawk eagle. Let me show you very quickly in my book. It will only take me just a moment. I think I'm starting to manage my book now after 5 years. No, I'm just joking. Pages are stuck together in this book. It's one of my older books, so I'm just trying to find it here. Right, eagles. We need to go past the big eagles and we need to get to the smaller ones. I've got the first one though. There is hawk eagle. Have a look over here. And it's probably one of my favorite hawks, I suppose. Beautiful. They're very lovely, very white with a black crown on their head. And let's just go over to the next page to show you the African hawk eagle. Not the African hawk eagle. Yes, the African hawk eagle. Where are you? Gymnogene? Oh, I think I've seen it. Sorry, I've got 150 million pages I need to try and get through. Now, where are you? We very quickly need to show you. No, not working. Okay, I'm going to have to search through it. Oh, no, here it is. African harrier hawk, sorry. Not hawk eagle, I've already showed you that one. Which is a bird we typically find climbing around knob thorns looking for snakes and scorpions and all sorts of things to feed on. There we go, bobby chair. So those are the two most common ones that you can have a look out for, that we see sort of on a regular basis. But I think it's time to go back to Byron, and he wants to do a little tour with you.
I would like to do a bit of a tour, a dam tour. Look how full this dam is. We're at Buffelshoek Dam at the moment, and look at all the water. This is fantastic. To think yesterday it was bone dry, there was just a little pool. And Douglas from Arizona, I know you wanted to have a look at the dams to see how much water there is. Isn't this fantastic? All these Impala around here, they've all come down to drink. There's lots of water here for all the animals. This is great. So hopefully we get some regrowth. I've spotted a few other animals on the other side of the dam, opposite us in that direction. Let's have a look down there at the base of that tree. I saw some monkeys moving around. There we go. One or two up in there, like Vervet monkeys. Wow. A few of them around. It's nice to see monkeys around. They've probably come down to drink too. And just getting ready to start their day. The monkeys are incredibly alert animals, and the amount of times we've found predators just by going on monkey alarm calls is incredible. So their eyesight is very, very good, so they can see any predator from quite far away, probably a lot sooner than we can. And then they'll alarm call. They give off this very interesting alarm call. I'll see if I can do it for you. It sounds something like And that is my attempt at a vervet monkey alarm call. And usually when that alarm call is then to alert the rest of the troop and make sure they know that there's danger around and that there's a potential predator. So if you find them and you just watch where these monkeys are looking, which direction they're looking on, if they are alarm calling, chances are you're probably going to find what they have seen. So great help in finding any predators. Baboons too. Baboons also, and they don't like any predators around, and they can give off some serious alarm calls. But theirs is a loud bark, bow, bow, and that will alert you then too to some predators around. But I'm so happy to see how much water there is in the dam at the moment. It's fantastic. It really is great. Look at that. That is incredible. Just from one evening of good rain. But like we said, we need more. We need more rain, and hopefully in the next few weeks we'll get a lot more. This dam could possibly fill up a lot more. I think they've prepared for a lot more water to arrive in this dam. So hopefully over the next few weeks, few months, we'll get a lot more rain. This dam will fill up nicely. Probably find a lot more hippo coming to these areas, and a lot of animals then coming down to drink at these big water holes. But that is really, really wonderful. Alright, so let us continue and see what else we can find. Still haven't had any tracks, and I wonder if you see what often happens is after rain like this, the ground hardens slightly. It gets this little crust. In certain areas, the ground can be so hard it's difficult to see tracks, unless it's in a muddy section. So, like up here on the dam wall at the moment, I doubt we'd see any tracks if we had to go and have a look around here, because the soil is very sandy, very coarse, and very hard. Let's look down here. And I know Taylor had a lot of vulture activity around, and I think it's because of yesterday. All those various buffalo carcasses that we found. Well, the lions had killed one or two, and there were some others, just really old, sick buffalo that I think were dying. So there's going to be a lot of vulture activity, I think, for the next few days. I've heard, hang on, there's a cuckoo calling somewhere. Just wait, where's this cuckoo? Sounds like a Levaillant cuckoo. There's also a red-chested cuckoo calling. We've been trying to show you a cuckoo for the last few days, so I'm having a good look around. Let's see, maybe, but it stopped calling now. Murphy's Law, as you hear them and you think you've got an idea of which direction they are, they disappear. And they stop calling. Let me see if I can find one of these cuckoos for you. While I do that, Taylor's got more vultures that she'd like to show you.
It seems the only thing that wants to show itself to us today are the birds, which is fine with me. We haven't really had a big birding day for quite some time. I normally seem to do them when Brent is always around. He always challenges me into birding days. Perhaps Byron and I will have to do one in the next few days. Now, this is the same carcass that we were at earlier. We're getting a dead stare. Sorry, that was very funny to watch. How that vulture was looking straight towards us with their big beady eyes. And it seems as though the white-backed are not the bravest. They keep flying away as soon as anybody comes in and out, and the hooded vultures don't really seem to mind so much. All the flies starting to come through and settle in on the carcass. Lots of birds chatting in the distance. Now, Mia, my cat, you would like to know this morning if the vultures will either spread out and feed on the various carcasses, or would they perhaps just feed on one and then move to the next once they're finished? Now, it just depends. I don't know if the other buffalo carcass has been spotted yet. There were quite a few trees growing over the top of it. Sorry, some big marulas. I'm probably going to sneeze again at some point, so I'm just going to apologize in advance. So I think that they would probably just eat whichever one they found first. Remember yesterday we saw those vultures in the distance, and I couldn't remember where the carcass was, the really stinky one that was covered in maggots. And it seems as though the vultures had already tucked into that one, and I wouldn't be surprised with all the lion activity around here if the vultures aren't starting to follow the lions because they've become so successful. But nobody else seems to be coming back now. Well, hooded vultures, you've got this entire buffalo to yourselves. You better make the most of it. Now, there's normally a bit of argument, or quite a bit of arguments that go around at a carcass like this. Now, Dustin, you're wondering if the vultures would defend the carcass from any other predators that come through. And unfortunately, not really. If the hyenas even come charging in, the vultures will all sort of scatter and fly. And of course, if the lions come, well, the first thing they're going to do is fly straight up to the nearest tree and then sit and watch in envy. But let's have another little look. I'm quite interested to see where sorry, they're all feeding, because it doesn't seem to be like they're really feeding on too much. I wonder what sort of size of a gash that lioness made in the stomach last night. It was an awkward position. We couldn't see very well. But I don't see them pulling out any sort of big chunks of flesh. I'm not even sure if the lions pulled the organs out. Perhaps they've already been eaten. I love it when they look at you like that. Those beautiful big eyes. And that pink facial skin, that eye really does pop. And look at the beautiful colors on this vulture's feather. The mottled dark browns and the blacks and the lighter browns with the speckles of white. That is quite pretty. This is absolutely amazing. I could sit here the entire day. Oh, this is so exciting. Well, I better quickly send you off to Byron because he's got one of the fastest creatures in the world.
Look what we found, everybody. Have a look at this. Look what we found. Got a little Speaks Hinged-backed tortoise. This is great. Hello, little guy. What I wanted to show you is just the carapace. This one's covered in mud. It looks like it's actually buried itself, and that's usually what these tortoises do in the winter. They bury themselves so that they conserve their energy, conserve moisture. So they'll dig maybe into these. This is a bit of a drainage line behind us into the banks of this dry riverbed or drainage line, and you can see it's completely covered in sand and mud. So after this rain, they start getting a bit more active. They dig themselves out. They start moving around. Now, this is different to the leopard tortoise in that it's much smaller, and the carapace or the shell is not as round. Now, the leopard tortoise gets that beautiful rounded shell. This one's a lot flatter and more elongated, and you can see there's actually a hinge at the back of the shell, and that's where it gets its name, the Speaks Hinged-backed tortoise. This is fantastic. Little shy. Let's see if he comes out and starts moving again. He's a little bit shy with me being so close to him, so we'll leave him. But what a nice surprise. See, that's the joy about this rain that we had. You get all these interesting little animals that come out. And, you know, we've been speaking about chameleons and other reptiles, maybe snakes. And we just need to I think with this rain now, you might start seeing a lot more activity from those animals. So you've always got to be very careful when driving around, especially in summer, because you get these little tortoises and that on the side of the road or in the road. You don't want to drive over them. That's great. Lovely little surprise. Let's see if Taylor's got an update from that carcass that she was at.
We have moved off from the carcass now, because I really want to try and find the nkuhumas. We know that that carcass is probably just going to get more and more active as the day goes on, so I don't think it'll be the last time that we pop back past there, but maybe in an hour or so. But let's carry on though and see if we can figure out where on earth these lions have gone. And I'm not sure exactly what to do, because I can see so many impala. There's just herds and herds of impala in this sort of area where that second carcass would have been, or is. So I don't think that there would be, you know, quite a few impala hanging around if they were right near the lions. Like I said, I don't want to go in with a vehicle, so I think we'll leave it. And I sat there and listened very quietly when we were with the elephants a little bit earlier, because that carcass was probably about 60 or 70 meters off the road and just in the block, and I didn't hear anything. I didn't hear the squabbling of vultures or hyenas, and I most certainly didn't hear anything on the lions. So I think we'll just check this perimeter, we'll just check the boundary, and I'm also going to keep chatting to Taxon this morning, who's also on the search for any of the cats really. So we'll just double check around here. And I think we'll carry on right until the full sort of cut line, along Cheetah cut line. Seems as though somebody else has also driven here, but they didn't hear anybody else calling any other lion tracks. I'm very envious that Byron has managed to find a tortoise, and I'm sure you probably got very excited and maybe thought you were about to see a cheetah when I said one of the fastest animals in this world. Of course, I was only joking. But it was nice to see a tortoise. We don't often get to see them. I was very excited. And this morning, David and I were chatting to each other, saying what we'd like to see. I obviously said I want to see the nkuhumas catching a buffalo, because that seems like it's possible at the moment with their success rate. Ooh, that was a very big bump. There's a lot of erosion, I apologize, going on after all that rain. And half of that little donga we went over has eroded, and we couldn't see it from the other side. Now, my request, I thought, was a little bit sort of easier to perhaps see than David's. David's was absolutely ridiculous. David requested this morning that he wants to see an elephant giving birth. I mean, how ridiculous is that? I don't know if we're going to see that happen, but it would be nice. I wouldn't say no. I would happily eat some humble pie if we were to come across an elephant giving birth. Still no tracks along here, and the sand is nice and soft. And I would even presume if they had walked here before the rain, I think you would still have seen a little sort of part of it. There's something moving up in the distance. I think it looks like wildebeest or zebra. But before we get there, it's still a little way away. Let's go back to Byron, who's got a bird for you.
While Taylor is in search of buffalo, we've found another beautiful bird, a brown-hooded kingfisher. And he's calling wonderfully for us. Look at that, the brown-hooded kingfisher. Now, this kingfisher does not migrate. This is here throughout the year. And this kingfisher, surprisingly enough, despite the name, feeds on insects. So you don't really see them close to waterholes. You'll find them in the bush, especially around drainage lines where we are at the moment, in an area right along the edge of a drainage line. And they'll feed and catch insects. Beautiful bird. The birds are calling so much this morning. It's been a fantastic morning for birds. I keep hearing the owls, the little pearl-spotted owls again. There was one calling just off to our left. There's a lot of cuckoos, crested barbets, a hoopoo. Sure, there's so much going on at the moment. I saw something move just down beyond us over here. I just want to have a look. Look like an Nyala. Let's just have a look down here. Oh. Where did it go? Yeah, there's a male Nyala. Have a look through there. There goes the one. That's what you saw. There was another one behind it. Let's see if it follows. Just moved down into this drainage line, and then look at the whole group off to the left of females. All these females, and look how different they are. The male compared to those females. Almost look like they're two different species. Females are that reddish brown coloration with the white stripes, and that male, there's a young male. The male, they have those dark grey coats. Very different looking, but beautiful antelope. There's the adult male. Look at him. Really beautiful. James Bears asked a question about the birds that we've got around here, and he wanted to know, is there another bird that I know of that has got such a harsh call like the lilac-breasted roller, but is so colourful? And James, thinking about it now, I can't really. All the other really colourful birds have got quite a melodious call. I wonder. The Narina Trogon. Now that I think about it, let me see if I can find that for you quickly on my trusty bird app. And I'd like to show you this bird because it is really, really beautiful. And the Trogon also has, I wouldn't say quite a harsh call, but a very deep call for this bird. And it's let me show you quickly. Have a look at that. Can you see there, Voldy? Look at that color, that Narina Trogon. I'm just going to scroll for you quickly because that picture doesn't do it any justice. But look at that. There we go. Let me turn it like that. Look at that coloration of that bird. Now, I have seen them in the Sabi Sands, in this area that we are in, but they do prefer quite dense, thicker areas, and especially down towards the coast, the east coast of South Africa. But they also have a very, very harsh, very, very harsh call. I'm actually going to see, let me see, these apps actually have the bird calls on them. So let me see if I can play it and if you can hear it. And let's see. Can you hear that? Very deep, booming sound. Hang on. Red-chested cuckoo, everyone, up in the top of the tree. Yes, we got one. Red-chested cuckoo, yes. Look at that. Really beautiful. I hope all our very keen birders are watching because this is awesome. We hear them all the time, but to see them is really difficult. Listen to that call. Stopped again, obviously. Let's just watch it. Wow, fantastic. Speaking about one bird and another bird arrives, and what a beautiful bird it is. There it goes. And red-chested cuckoo. That was great. That was really fantastic. Awesome. We've said we wanted to show you a cuckoo, and we found one, and it's one of my favorite because of that call. That beautiful, beautiful call. So James, I'm thinking about a harsh call, a beautiful bird or beautiful coloured bird with a harsh call. I still think the lilac-breasted roller wins, but that Narina trogon is a very deep sound call you wouldn't expect to come from such a beautiful bird. And how wonderful was it to see that red-chested cuckoo. Still haven't seen any tracks of any predators just yet, not on our side at least. So we're going to continue searching in this area. Taylor's also searching. Let's see if she's found anything yet.
I haven't found anything at the moment. We're still looking for the lions, but I did have a lovely conversation with Taxon, and he's provided some valuable information this morning. But before I tell you about that, let's have a look at these African grey hornbills calling up in the top of that tree. That's quite nice. Good morning, hornbills. And almost the only species of hornbill that doesn't like to sit still and be shown on camera. There we go. Isn't that beautiful? Now, when I was learning birds, this call was probably one of the most difficult to learn. The reason being is because the call sounds quite similar to most of the raptors. So the birds of prey, they normally have those high-pitched calls like that. And you'd often get confused, but now it's unmistakable. Having a great chat with each other. And I can hear some more calling in the far distance, so perhaps these two are proclaiming their territory. It looks like it's the male on the left, with a little bit more of a crown, and the female on the right. If you're having a look at their beaks, you can tell the difference between the two. Very vocal this morning. Huh? Are you going to fly? Are you going to stay? They're very uncertain. Well, isn't this amazing? Normally it's quite difficult to tell the difference between various birds, but I think the hornbills probably are the easiest out of them all. And that's really just, if you look at their beaks, of course, how robust they are. Now, I'm not sure why they are so much bigger than the females. I think it's possibly, the only reason I could really think of is that it's really just for display, you know, to sort of make himself look prettier, because their colors are exactly the same colored feathers, and they're relatively the same size. So, of course, you need something, like a male lion has a big mane. I think the beak is, of course, the most prominent thing that's on the top of their face that you see straight away from a hornbill. So it makes sense that that would be the way that you could tell the difference between the two. Sometimes it can be a bit tricky, though. And we were seeing at one point lots and lots of yellow-billed hornbills, all the males hanging around together. And I think that was because they were fighting sort of for territories and for mates. But now we're back to normal again. We're seeing a male and a female together. So it's not too confusing. So what I was about to tell you before we spotted those hornbills was that Taxon said he had some tracks of the lions around the dam, around Gowrie Dam, where the dam cam is, last night. But I know that the Nkuhumas aren't too fond of the rain, and like I said, there was a lot of hail last night, so I'm sure they would have gone into a drainage line to look for some shelter. We even had a whole lot of buffalo almost inside camp last night. They were hanging around on the outside of the fence. And I reckon if we'd left the gate open, they probably would have come outside or parked themselves in under one of the garages where we keep the cars to try and avoid the rain. Oh, very squeaky, sorry about that. So my plan from here is to go onto Central and to go around and to have a look from sort of east to west and see if we can't find them there. It's warming up beautifully now. There's not a breath of wind. The skies are becoming nice and blue. So perhaps they'll come out from their hiding spots. Just double checking here. No. Well, we're coming up to Buffelshoek Dam. I know you've just had a look at it, but I'd quite like to have a little glimpse and see what we're going to be dealing with for this afternoon. Oh my goodness, it's like a lake. It's massive. Just having a little quick glimpse of it as we go through this last drainage. That is so beautiful, but I'll show you again before we carry on. Ooh, around the corner we go. Let's just double check. Oh my goodness, it really is a lake. Well, this is so spectacular. All the Impala coming down to drink now. No hippos. I'd be in here. Smells like there were some hippos though. Oh, let me go a bit further back. Yeah. Isn't that lovely? Yeah, they're Impala having a nice drink. Now you can see how dirty the water is. If it was clean, it would have been a crystal clear reflection, but unfortunately from all the hippo feces and buffalo feces and elephant urine and you name it that is in this water, it's sort of got that murky, foamy coat to the top. But now that we've had some rain, perhaps that water would have been sort of re-oxygenated again, and that's one of the biggest problems when the dams and watering holes start to dry out, is that you get a lot of bacteria in that water and eventually there's just not enough oxygen for the little organisms to live in it, but that would have done them fine. It seems as though the geese are enjoying themselves though. They've got actual pools to swim in now. You can see them. So these are filter feeders, and most of the ducks and geese are indeed filter feeders. So what that means is that you can see how that bird is sort of clattering its bill together. You see that? And little particles are entering its mouth, and it has almost like a sieve. And it will then catch up all the delicious little particles. But they'll also eat grass. Egyptian geese, you often see them out in the middle of nowhere where there's no water to be found, grazing. They're big grazers, and also big pests, unfortunately, in South Africa. I think I've mentioned this. They tend to plague the golf courses, and you can imagine why, especially if they like to eat grass. Those fairways will be beautiful. Perfect sort of breeding habitat for them. Now, I've never ever found an Egyptian goose nest before, and it's something that I've always tried to have a look for. But when I was down in the Eastern Cape, it was quite funny how the Egyptian geese seem to like to use the termite mounds, sort of on top of the termite mounds, and use them as a nesting site. I never got to see one, but I just heard of it, heard all the other guides talking about it, and of course I saw lots and lots of photos. But perhaps if this happy couple stick around in the area, then maybe I will be able to see that. Oh, I'm so sorry, Mariana. I'll repeat the bird's name for you. These are Egyptian geese, and there's actually a pair of them sort of wading through the water. They're very common. Like I said, you see them all over, not just out here in the wild. They've become quite accustomed to parks and golf courses. They love those areas. You sort of live between them, and I know that the local people enjoy eating Egyptian goose. It's a staple diet sort of around this area. If they can catch one, it's sort of a nice delicacy that they could feed on. Oh, I'm sure there's lots and lots of goodies for these Egyptian geese to eat in this water. Now I wonder how deep it is. I wonder if their webbed feet are touching the bottom as they're paddling along. Now I hope we're going to have a hot day, that we definitely need to have an absolute scorcher like it was yesterday afternoon, and I think that this watering hole would be fantastic. We may even if it sticks around for long enough, we may even get to see elephants swimming again. Well, not the big ones, but the little ones will probably be able to submerge themselves and have a little bit of fun. And that's what's so exciting, is that when you have a bit of rain and it fills up the water, the watering pans like this one. Look at that. I mean, yesterday there was nothing. There was maybe a meter of water or so in the far top corner, and now it's completely filled up. This is so lovely. Right, but let's carry on. Let's continue our search for the Nkuhumas. So we're going to probably head down Nyala Road. I think that's going to be our best bet. I want to try and check as far east on Central as I can and then sort of head around. I did check a little bit of Central around Drakensberg Junction and we didn't see anything around there. So we'll have to head to the next one. Now I know sometimes going along this road the signal can be a little bit jumpy, but let's go across to Byron in case I disappear, and it seems as though he's got himself stuck in the mud.
So we've just we're doing a bit of a dam tour again this morning, but I just wanted to stop and show you this this little drainage line. You can see how this water is filled up here. So this, obviously the catchment in this area must be a lot better. It's incredible just to think, yesterday we drove through here and there was no water at all. So it really is wonderful to see. We're going to carry on. Just up ahead is this twin dams, and let's see how much water is in there. And maybe there's some animals lying around, you never know. A lot of Impala wandering around. A little duiker just darted off. They're always very, very shy and skittish, and they tend to move off very, very quickly. Let's see here. I wonder if this has filled up much. A little bit, not too much. We'll have a look now. We'll stop. Yeah, actually very little. So maybe the catchment in this area isn't as good. It's filled up a little bit, but there was always some water in here. Alright, we're now going to head towards what's the other? Treehouse Dam. I almost forgot the name there for a second. And see what we can find around there. While I head to that dam, Taylor's got some birds that are trying to make a home.
So have a look there. You can see that Hornbill has just landed on this dead tree. Can you see it back there? Now it's very difficult to make out what they're doing, but they're actually building a nest, and this is quite spectacular. Now we know how the Hornbills like to nest. They find a hole or a cavity in a tree, and the female will go inside when she's laid her clutch of eggs, and then the male will start to close the hole up. They do work together. You can see the one just on top there. So for the initial sort of mudding up of the walls, or closing up of the hole, they will both sort of collect mud and sort of start pushing it around the outside of the hole. And just before it gets too small, let's see if he's going to come here to this puddle of water in front of us. I suspect that it will. then the female will jump inside and the male will continue working. Now let's have a look at, let's watch this. I've never seen them building a nest before. I think the nest is on the other side of the tree though, but it's still amazing just to see them out and collecting their nesting material. No, come back here, there's lots of nice mud this side. You can see that their bills are also nice and brown from probing them into the ground. Not looking for insects or anything. Like I said, they're collecting mud. Here we go. Are you going to take that back with you? Yes. Flying all the way back to the dead tree. Now it's back on the tree. There he is. See, so I think the nest is just on the other side, just out of sight for us. And it's amazing how, like back in the day, well, there's still some indigenous people that make mud huts. And this is a technique that these birds are still using. We'll sit here for a little bit because they every now and then keep coming to this puddle of water. And the reflection is quite beautiful. There we go, got some more mud. Now, sort of the species of hornbills that we seem to see are the red-billed, the yellow-billed, and of course the southern ground. Now, Fuzzman Sparkles also wants to know if we perhaps see crowned hornbills. Occasionally we do. We really do see them, but not very often. Even when I was down in the south, there we go, that's a big bit of mud. I only saw them about 5 times or so, and I saw them down closer towards the river. If there are any big fig trees that are around that are fruiting, well, then you're definitely going to see crowned hornbills. They will always be in those trees with all the African green pigeons. But I haven't really seen any fig trees. I don't think I've seen one fig tree since I've been here. But they typically like to grow on the banks of rivers, and I know we don't have any big river systems up in this northern sector. Well, any of the areas that we really have to traverse on. So I suspect, I don't know, I might have to have a chat with Brent to see if he's seen the odd crowned hornbill, but I can imagine it would be a special sighting up here in the north. Now let's see if they're going to come back again. But this is really just quite amazing just to sit here and be able to watch all these things happen. Now, Emma, you want to know if these birds are made for life. They are indeed monogamous, so they will try and find the same mate and will stick together for as long as possible. Obviously, if one dies or something happens, they're not going to just not do anything about it. They will then start searching for a new partner. Let's see when they are. I think they're just jumping around on the ground below the tree. Now, Virginia, you've asked a fantastic question. You want to know if something happened to the male, and say perhaps when that female was already inside her little cavity and she'd been sort of blocked up, would that female leave the nest to find food? I think she'd have to. Because I think if she didn't, she would unfortunately probably starve sitting in there. She really relies on that male to pass through food through a small little hole that they leave open with the mud. And I think that she would have to break her way out and then continue and perhaps abandon the eggs or try and incubate them, but maybe they won't get enough incubation. So I'm not so sure. I haven't heard of anything like that, but of course there's a possibility that hornbill could just be out for a day. An eagle could take it down. A caracal, any one of the smaller predators could actually take it. Are they coming back? They're coming closer again. I'm going to sit very quietly now. There we go. Pecking lovely at that soft mud and taking it back again. That's a beautiful reflection, so you can see that that's lovely fresh water in that little wallow. I may even take 1 or 2 photos. I hope you are doing the same thing. It's one of my favorite things that I love to do is, of course, photography. And I know back of you would prefer to be out here on the vehicle with me taking lots of photos, but you can do even better. You can take lots of screenshots and share them with all of us. And remember, it's always nice to share those photos because perhaps somebody has just started watching and has missed out on quite a bit of the show already, so it's nice to do a little catch-up with them. Remember, you can do that by either hashtagging Safari Live on Twitter or sending us an email at questions@wildearth.tv. I think we'll sit here and wait for these hornbills to come back one more time to this beautiful puddle of water. Here they come again. And then we shall leave them to continue with their morning. But grab some screenshots now that we know where there's a hornbill nest. We can try and follow up, of course, like we will try and do with a magpie shrike nest as well as the crested barbet nest, and like we have been, of course, doing with the Wahlberg's eagle's nest. That's a big piece. My goodness, very ambitious. Working hard. Now, birds will typically have chicks sort of once a year. Obviously, it just depends on the species. If you're a southern ground hornbill, well, that's every 7 years or so. But typically for the rest of the birds, they will start mating normally around this time of the year, usually from September, even, and of course, well into October. Some of them, the incubation periods are a little bit less, maybe even as late as the end of November. So it's typically around the rainy seasons. And it varies, so it depends where you go. If you're up in Zambia, I'm almost certain that the breeding seasons will be completely different if they are the local residents in the area. Perhaps the red-billed hornbills, which they do have, they probably will breed at the beginning of the year, almost around February, March, when they get most of their rain. And now, obviously, when we have a lot of rain, it's a rejuvenation of the land. Of course, it fills up all the watering holes, and most importantly is that an abundance of insects comes about, and that's a very important food source that they need. In the winter months, we don't see as many insects, and I think that's why these birds generally breed in the rainy seasons. Are they coming back? They're hopping around in the distance. I'm just having a look, spotting them. And just sitting down behind some of these trees. But we'll wait patiently, because I'm sure we'll get them once more coming towards us. And I think it would be beautiful if you've missed the opportunity to get a reflection shot. Well, you better be prepared this time. And hopefully we'll get one more chance to do that, because that is very special. There it is. Going back to the nest. Oh no, just hopping onto the next tree, slowly making its way back around. But this is what's so exciting is finding these little things. I'm actually going to make a marker on my map so that I remember exactly where this nest is. Let me do that.